Justin, interesting little bit of time at the moment. Your first year as coach as well. So how are you finding juggling the challenges that are being thrown up along with learning the ropes as a first year coach?
Well, it is what it is, and it's a situation we've been dealt as an industry. So I feel like I've got some really good support around me. Simon, Peter Bell, Joe Bridie have been really good support for me over the last 6 weeks and going into this period, because there is a lot of difference to what I'm used to even as an assistant coach. So they've been able to step me through a lot of the processes and support me in setting out the program. So I feel like it's been a good team effort so far.
Have you been given any indication as to what round 2 will look like?
No, we haven't. No, it's still up in the dark at the moment. So we're just preparing for any opponent wherever, and that situation won't change our preparation or this week's training. So trying to stay in the moment at the moment.
If you talk with the South Australian government situation, the showdown over there and a round 2 derby here, would that change how you travel? Anything about preparation?
Not at this stage, because at this stage we're just preparing our players to play an AFL game. It'll change probably the last week of our prep leading into that game, given that we're playing at home rather than away. But at this stage, I think most of our conversations are about leaving that derby, for when we come back, in case we have to quarantine. So, like I said, we haven't had any indication from the AFL what our fixture looks like in round 2. So we're just preparing our players to play anywhere, anytime, against anyone at the moment.
How fully ready is the group at the moment?
Oh, we're still a fair way off. I mean, we're using this week to bridge the gap between kicking in pairs and full team training next week. So I'm really happy with the way the players have presented themselves this week. It looks like they've done the program over the break, but there's only so much you can do in pairs and by yourself. So we've got a bit of work to get into them, as every team would, and we've set out a program to be able to achieve that in 3 weeks.
When you look at Monday in terms of the contact training, how quickly do you get the guys back into the stuff you were doing, before all this sort of happened?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, and one that we probably don't have all the answers to at this stage. And we've got to make sure that we push our players to the limit, but we don't break them down, and that's the balance where every club's trying to find at the moment. We're using this week to bridge the gap between pairs and pairs training and full team training, and we'll use next week to hopefully try and get some match sim into them by the end of the week. Monday will be a little bit more contact than they're used to, so we've just got to, and it's largely about monitoring how they pull up after each session and seeing where we can take it there. So we're trying to find the balance with all those things at the moment, and it's so far so good.
Seen guys like Akers and Mundy, Wilson as well, back in full training. How are those guys looking in terms of round 2?
Yeah, really, really positive. Blake has stepped into full training into one of the groups. Dave Mundy was really close to play round 2 of it, had it stood where it was supposed to be. So, and Nath Wilson's pulled up really well from the couple of sessions we've had. Stephen Hill probably a week away from joining full training, so that's a real positive we can take out of this time.
Did you just have a body issue with Stephen just sort of going off again?
No. It's just the injury he suffered was quite a long one, and he was a week behind Blake, so he's maintained that, and we'll be able to get 3 good weeks of training into him leading into round 2, and hopefully he's available for selection. Have our players? I'm actually not sure of that. Our staff upstairs have done a fantastic job of trying to assist all our staff and players through this time, and I've left that largely to them. It's probably not the job of a senior coach to worry about that sort of thing.
Disappointed if some of your players are training and getting prepared to play for next to nothing?
Oh no, definitely it wouldn't be. But my understanding is through the Players Association, they've negotiated a deal with the AFL, and for all I know, that stands. Yeah, he's a possibility. He rejoined the group this week, albeit in a smaller group. And we've just got to make sure that we, first and foremost, look after the mental well-being of Jesse, and we've done that over this last 10, 12 weeks since he's been absent from the club. Now it's about integrating him into the club and making sure his physical preparation's right, not only for round 2 or round 3 whenever he joins the team, but to be able to sustain that through the season. We forget that Jesse probably hasn't done a full main training session for almost a year now, given his navicular injury last year. So there is some physical things we need to tick off before he's available to play, but at the moment it's trending in the right direction.
How much do you consider the prospect of down the track possibly playing multiple games in 1 week when it comes to guys like Jesse and some other players that listed have recurring issues? How much do you take that into consideration when you're talking about trying to get these guys back to play?
It takes a lot of planning. It's something that we're going to have to work through and plan for a lot of different scenarios. At this stage, the indication from the AFL is that our breaks between games will be between 5 and 7, and for some of our less resilient players, that's going to be an issue. So we're doing some preliminary work at the moment to negotiate that, but without the fixture in front of you, it can be quite tricky as well. So we're going to have to navigate those waters, I guess, as they come, and make sure we really screen our players after every game and after every training session, and be really flexible with our planning.
Do you think to yourself about what sort of impact Jesse will be able to have this season?
Oh, absolutely. I've watched Jesse play from afar for a lot of years, and he's a quality AFL footballer. So the more quality AFL footballers you can have in your team and your squad to select from, the better for a coach. So we just got to make sure that we make sure he's resilient, both mentally and physically, and is able to sustain the year and contribute to the group on and off the field. And that's something we're working through at the moment. As I said before, it's all been pretty positive so far. So hopefully it keeps trending in the right direction.
You're going out pretty close to the whole squad available for the selection. This sort of rehab group before, and there's only probably about 3 blokes out there.
Yeah, and like I said, it's been a positive for this period for us. We've been able to get a lot of players do little mini pre-seasons in a sense behind the scenes and to get ready for round 2. I think at this stage it'll be Pearce and probably Hamling that maybe won't be available. Some other players will be probably treading a fine line, but by round 3 or 4 I think we'll have majority of the squad fit and available.
Are you looking at sending the whole squad across the...
Well, there's a lot of things we need to work out with the AFL. They haven't given us a number of staff we're allowed to take or a number of players we're allowed to take, so until we get that, it's just really hard to make a decision on how many we take. And given the circumstances, it's really difficult to split your staff to be able to keep some here and take all of your staff. So there's a lot of things we need to work through, but we probably need some more information from the AFL first.
Has there been much clarity on the fringe players and what they might be able to do if they don't get a game with those second-tier clubs kind of available for them?
No, we're still working through that, and as I said, we need to make sure that we're able to put a staff around them here, which aligns with the AFL protocols that they've given us, and we're able to monitor our players to make sure that they're getting the services they deserve and need. So whether that means we take everyone or split our group, we haven't made a decision on that, and as I said, we'll get some more information from the AFL before we make that decision.
What a good question, Justin. 2025 grand final, once again, jumping on the page, like coach and stuff, but from a football perspective, any thoughts on whether that would be a positive or negative?
I haven't entertained that one iota, and I know that gets put on the agenda a lot, and I reckon someone from the AFL does it to sneak a little bit of airtime. If we make it to a grand final, I don't care when or where it's played, I'd just be very grateful to get the opportunity to play in one.
Just in the 3.5 weeks to get the players ready, competition that has such fine margins separating teams, is there more pressure to get this 3.5 weeks perfectly correct for your team going to round 2?
Absolutely. I think it's going to set up a lot of teams' season getting this right. And as I said before, we're trying to find the balance between pushing our players and hard enough to be ready for an AFL game and be resilient for a whole season versus breaking them down. So, yeah, we just need to make sure that we're screening our players. Our players are being really honest with us about how they're feeling and really flexible with our programming. And we've got some, obviously, plans in place for what this 3 weeks looks like, but we need to be flexible with those plans and make sure that we're listening to our players and adjusting accordingly.